Lillian-san, where and when were you born?
Where and when? I was born in Aomori Prefecture and grew up in Hokkaido, Sapporo City. 1989, May 11th.
Oh, so you're a Taurus, we decided.
Yeah.
I've been to Hokkaido. It's there's amazing scenery there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I miss Japan. What words describe you? Maybe three for someone who doesn't know you.
I'm passionate about climate justice and funny and 3 words. Wow, that's difficult.
We've got passionate and funny. That's a good. You're more than halfway through.
Okay. Kind, I think.
Kind?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me how your English got so fluent. It's good. It's really good.
Through studying in London for a year when I was 13, and then after that I started to make friends like outside of Japan, and that's where I practice my English.
And your main money-making work has been modeling, is that right?
Yes.
And did you travel around the world, or was that mostly in Japan?
Well, I worked mostly in Japan, but I did get to go around the world for the other location to take for the shooting and campaign.
You mean for advertisements or something?
Yeah, advertisement, yeah.
And say a word about that, because as a feminist, how does one cope with being an object in some ways? I think, you did advertisement rather than runway?
I did both. I did a lot of magazines and fashion show, because my height is like 76, 176 centimeter, which is like I can go on the runway but also on the magazine. So like I could go everywhere. So I did different things like TV commercial and yeah.
And how does a feminist handle being a model?
I think I wanted to become a dancer since I was young, and I found I got offered to be a model, and working as a model, it was more like performing, like expressing myself, like more of a creative, artistic work that I was being part of. And so of course, like every woman in this world got the immense message about like how you need to look like, and I feel like the amount of the message didn't have much difference, like being a model and not being a model. We all struggle in the same place. So, but I worked as a model, but I really liked it because I really liked to express myself, to become to find my new part of me or something like that. So I tried not to pay attention much to that perspective of like being seen as an object, but I tried to stay connected with the creator who I work with, like human connection, and create something fun.
What about I think it's changing, but for a long time, the ideal model was kind of anorexic, and eating disorders were a common problem for models. So how does one cope with the idea of, oh, Marilyn Monroe would have been considered fat, and in today's modeling world, she would be way chubby. How does one eat as a model?
Well, I did struggle to lose weight when I was like 16 or 17. I thought I was like too fat. Not really too fat, but like I wish my legs were more skinnier or something like that. And so I did try some dieting, but not so seriously, because how much I eat, I don't gain much weight. How much I don't eat it, I don't lose weight. So like I kind of quickly I find out that, just this is me. I should be healthy. So I really try to eat good food, good diet, but that's it. So it wasn't a struggle for me much.
What kind of dance were you in love with? Because I'm a ballroom dancer, and some of my videos are on my YouTube channel.
Wow, I would like to check. Well, I did ballet, classic ballet, for a long time. But like not only ballet, I just like randomly play music at home, dance like freely. So I like any dance. I'm not really good at hip hop and that kind of dance, but still.
Right. That was my childhood too. Put on albums and dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I took ballet, but mostly modern dance. So how did you get involved in the whole climate activism movement? What was your awakening?
I have a few different places like in my life. Like when I was 8, I saw Seven Suzuki's speech. Do you know
She's Canadian girl. She was a girl then and spoke to the UN and climate conferences. Yeah.
When I saw that, I was 8, and she was like, that speech was when she was 11, and that was like a big, like it was very shocking thing to hear, that young girl speaking out that adult needs to take care of this earth. And that gave me idea that like I would like to have like a team to do similar things in the future. So it became one of my dreams to do that kind of thing in the future. But I had no friend, I had no one who could be cared about environment as much as I do at that time. So I was like kind of hiding that part of me for quite a long time. But then when I went to Denmark, like 7 years ago or 6 years ago, I was at school studying about environment, and I finally find a place where I could talk about this issue with same age friends. And that gave me idea that like once I go back home, maybe I can look for like NGOs, volunteer to look for same age of people who care about this topic. And that's kind of where I started to become more active in activism.
How old were you when you were in Denmark studying?
I was 24, I think. Yeah. And I came back and I was 25, and I attended my first climate strike. It was, we don't do strike in Japan much, but we did it, someone organized it because we expected to have a Paris Agreement at the COP. So I think that was 2015, right?
Paris was 2015, yeah.
Yeah. So right before the Paris Agreement there was a strike in Tokyo, and I attended that. So that was my kind of first action that I did. And
strike is a new word for march or demonstration. It's demonstrations of marching in the streets have been around for centuries, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, the classic strike is when you don't go to work.
Oh, okay. So then demonstration then.
But now they say strike. But
Okay.
it's a new use of the word.
Okay.
So you were on the streets during before the 2015, and then did the Japanese government say, okay, we're going to commit to reducing emissions as part of the Paris Accord?
They say, because the Paris Agreement start from 2020, right?
No, it was signed in 2015.
Oh yeah, they did sign, but they didn't say the amount of the carbon footprint they will reduce. The target,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, they didn't. Maybe they did say it, but I don't think they say that. They recently said the target and it's not enough. So we, other Japanese NGOs and activists, we have been trying to approach there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then was your next, was that organized by a group in 2015, or it was just people who cared about the environment and kind of spontaneously went to the streets?
I think it was environmental NGOs kind of gathered to prepare this event. And one of the NGO was 350 Japan, which was like, do you know 350?
Oh, yeah.
It just on 2015, Japanese 350 Japan started right before the march. So that's where I joined as a volunteer.
And then did you get involved with the Climate Action Japan? Was that what it was called that we talked about yesterday?
Climate Use?
Yeah.
Well, I did join that group, but like it wasn't my group actually. Because everyone was like well educated, like, and I didn't go to university, and I don't know, I just felt I felt the competing with each other, that who can do better, blah blah blah, that kind of atmosphere. I thought this is not about changing the world. So but like now I think the group have changed, because of course the member have been like changing once the CYJ group, once they become adult, they leave the position. So yeah.
So as far as you know, is CYJ now more inclusive, or is it still kind of college or academic, college-bound high school students?
I think things started to change, but still quite academic young people are there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when did you and how did you get involved with Fridays for Future, FFF?
When? It started 2019 March, around that time. Wasn't it around that time? I'm bad with the time, but
I think the big march was in September of 2019, the global march.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was one in March, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there was one in March, and that's where one of my friend, well, student friend started the movement. And I was so like I've been because this like environmental activist community is quite small in Japan. Like everyone knows each other. Not everyone, but like I'm close to like quite different climate activists, and I have been supporting these high school, university students who try to start the Fridays for Future movement in Japan. And so I wasn't the one like in front of the group, in front of the camera, doing a speech or anything like that. But I have been like in the meeting and like supporting and organizing together. But I got more involved recently because in 2019 October, I started to go around the world meeting climate activists everywhere. And like in that trip, I did meet a lot of Fridays for Future people. And Fridays for Future people have been like very nice to me, and they let me stay at their house. We have been chatting like how to organize this movement. And so I got quite a lot of ideas after the trip. So I just decided to come back and like join Fridays for Future group in Tokyo and just share the knowledge I got and start talking about what they want to do. Because I'm an adult, and I think the young people needs to decide how they want to achieve or how they want to make this movement look like. So I just gave the messages. I connected them to other part of Fridays for Future so they can like figure out reaching out to people. Yeah. So that I started doing that from February this year.
When you went on the trip, did you organize it yourself? Not part of any group. It was a Lillian-san trip.
Yeah, it was just me trip.
And where did you go? I mean, did you go to Sweden and say hello to Greta, or where did you go?
I was heading towards the COP, and like I kind of made
In Madrid.
In Madrid, yeah. But when I started my trip, I thought the COP gonna happen in Chile.
Yeah.
And I was trying not to fly as much as possible, try to do the low carbon trip. So I took a bus to one of the port in Japan, and then from there I took a ferry to Vladivostok in Russia, and from there I took a Siberian railway across Siberia and went into Europe, and I traveled. But when I was on the Siberian railway, I figured out that the COP gonna happen in Madrid. So meaning I don't have to book a flight to Chile, and which I haven't done it yet. So wow, then I can just take a train all the way down to Madrid. So yeah.
Did you
Though.
did you run into Sasha when you were in Eastern Russia? Who's an activist? No.
Not at that time, but we have been following each other on Instagram. From when? Like before we saw each other at the COP. Maybe, but yeah, we started to recognize when I got into Russia. So.
And then what did you find? I mean, if you were you mostly talking to young women? Were you mostly talking to students? I mean, if you were going to do kind of a portrait of the people that you were inspired to talk with and visit, what would a kind of a overall picture look like?
Well, I met a lot of students, but like I did reach out to scientists too to talk to. But because I have been traveling, it's like planning my trip, and also so it became like last minute call to everyone when I like research and send message, and so scientists were like too busy, or I couldn't meet them. But I did become friend at the COP with some of the scientists, so that was good.
Mm-hmm. And what percentage of the people that you met who are activists were female?
It was about half and half, but a bit less, I think. Boys were more. Yeah.
And
10 out of, no, 20 out of 17 were girls, kind of like that.
20,
it's almost
20 out of 70?
No. 7.
7 out of 20 would be female.
That's the opposite. Okay. 7 out of 20. I always switch the number. Part of English, sorry.
But that means there would be fewer, because 10 would be half.
Right, yeah, fewer.
There were fewer, okay. And did you find any patterns in their motivation? I mean, one pattern is some people have said that climate activists tend to be not in the norm. I mean, they see themselves as different. They're on the autism spectrum. They're homeschooled. They're not like the other peer group or something. That I don't know. Did anything strike you as, oh, I see a pattern in the personalities of these people?
Yeah, I did notice that. Like when I went to Germany, I did see a lot of Fridays for Future students, and also I attended one of the Friday strike there, and the people who gathered were, I think they see themselves as a bit like minority group of the society, and that's the same in Japan. Not always, but yeah, like they dye their hair with the color, and like some of them more like the idea of inclusive, like feminism, also like LGBTQ community, and caring about racism, that kind of thing.
So around the world, everyone I talk to, it's like 70% of the activists are young women. And one person that I talked to in Georgia said, for adolescent boys, being an activist isn't cool. You know, it's you should, I guess you should be an athlete or a musician. So I'm wondering, since I haven't talked to boys, I'm wondering what the boys you talk with, what motivated them to not think I have to be a cool athlete or musician.
One of the boy, not exactly boy, but guy I talked to was that, I don't know, is in my mind is like Alshak. He's an activist in Moscow in Russia. He was my first climate activist friend that I made through trip, and he was an artist. Like he used to be playing violin, and he's still in like early 20. And I don't know, like he's not interested in becoming cool. He just like truly care about the science and like believes that everyone needs to know this fact. And he's trying to do whatever his best to spread information. And other boy I met was in Germany, and I think in Germany, like being activist for boys is a cool thing there. And I did meet activists in Spain too, and there girls were taking more leadership than boys. But the boys I met there, they like people, they like community, and those boys wanted to have a really good friends everywhere in the world kind of type of boys.
Extroverts.
Oh, okay. And girls were more serious, and the boys were trying to create the like friendly atmosphere kind of. So like, I don't know, it depends on different country, different community. So.
And did you find that there were like national characters that you could, although they're stereotypical, that you could feel it was more such and such in Spain than in Germany?
I did see the national character, which was fun. But it was very interesting to see how each Fridays for Future reached out to public and how to include people to this movement. Because in Spain, it was like they really reach out to other social activist organization, and so all the issue, it not only climate change, but they really try to raise all the issue up about social justice, and that became a big thing there. And I think in Germany, because Greta came a few times, it was more of a like really climate is a main issue, and it's more like, well, they have a culture of doing protests and blah blah blah, so I don't know. And Russia, it was very difficult because they cannot strike in that country, so things were very, very harsh. And but like I got really touched by each person, those activists in Russia, because they really need to have a big commitment and courage to stand up. So yeah, very inspiring.
Did you meet people in France?
Well, I did go down through France, but I didn't go to Paris or any big city. I only saw one of the Greenpeace CEO for Japan she was living in France, so I stayed at her place. So we just talked in Japanese about how blah blah blah. So I didn't meet any activists there.
Did you post photographs of your trip that people could see?
I have been posting a lot of videos and pictures on my Instagram account.
And what is that account? What's it called?
Lillian Ono, my name.
All right.
It was it was my trip, so I just wanted to share my experience with people.
No, that's unusual. I mean, I don't think many people can say that they've traveled with such a purpose. With Fridays for Future, who were the people that started it in Japan? Were they high school students? What was the deal?
The person who started was university student, and three people, and one of them were taking an internship in one of the NGOs. Like 3 of them were all internship students in different environmental NGOs, and all of them got information about Greta and the school strike, and they thought, well, we should start too, and started. And the NGO staff kind of supported them to organize that.
So they were university students?
University students.
And those 3, what gender were they?
2 of them are girl and 1 boy.
And are they still kind of in the forefront, or how is it? And that was in 2019 that it was started?
Mm-hmm.
And how has it grown since then?
Well, 1 of them are still in Fridays for Future, and 2 of them left. But those organizers, the leaders, have been changing quite a lot. There were a lot of drama. I know, like the story of Fridays for Future Japan, how things grew, and now because of the corona, we got pandemic time. We got a lot of time to do a meeting online. So now there's like many different team and well structured, and we have been discussing about how to approach, who to approach, who to target to change the energy proposal. I mean, energy, how do you say?
Policies.
And do we like to include adults or not? If not, at what age do we want to
cut it off?
Cut off and that kind of thing. Many different topics people have been doing a meeting.
And what was the decision about including adults? And if so, what age is adult?
They haven't decided properly yet. They have been discussing almost every week. But it looks like, and on different region have a different relationship with the adults, so everyone have a different idea. But as an adult, I see Japanese culture. I think it's better we should keep Fridays for Future for students, young people. And maybe only few adults those people who can really think about support their them could be part of it, but I think it should be separated.
They could be advisors or consultants.
Yeah. They have
than...
a lot of advisors and consultant, great adults. So yeah.
What was the nature of the drama where some people left? Was it over policies?
It was more of, because everyone's like those people who were leading in Fridays for Future movement. How do you say? They felt this is a very serious, urgent topic, and they got kind of irritated with the other students who were not as serious as them. And that kind of made
there's some judgment involved.
Mm-hmm. Like quite a lot of anger were there, and no one would be able to no one really understand me kind of thing, and felt very isolated. And that was hard to see. And the adults kind of really expect to speak out, like strong global thing. So those leaders have been saying that kind of thing, but not really. The public really don't really listen to them, don't have a really good image of them. So it was very difficult to them to stay in that position.
Does the public think that they're radicals?
I always forget the meaning of radical.
Radical means go to the root, people who want to make major change at the root, as opposed to someone who's liberal or moderate or reformist. Radicals want to make big changes.
And what was your question?
Did the adults think of the leaders who think this is a crisis, we've got to be urgent, take action? Did the public think, oh, those are radicals, leftists, extremists?
I think it was more like, oh, the child is not knowing the society, and like their stress, anger, they just decided to use this topic to show, or something like that.
It's an adolescent rebellion kind of thing.
Not everyone, of course. Of course, like, yeah, but like the main image of adults were like that. Or like Japanese culture really, they hate the anger kind of impression. So just like seeing that was like already, they're not listening anymore. So.
Interesting. Yeah, it's true. Like if you go on the trains in Japan, people don't smile at you, or people keep a very unexpressive face, or head down sleeping or something. You're not supposed to be expressive emotionally with your face in public.
I think it's just, I feel like Japanese people are one of the very shy people. I think that one of the reasons why they don't show expression is that they're shy, just showing anything they have.
When I taught my energy tools workshops in Japan, I teach 3 or 4 a year for a period of years. And I know one of the sessions I said, okay, are there any questions or observations? And no one said anything. So I sat down on the floor and I said, okay, I'm going to meditate until there's a question or an observation. And then from then on, hands up, chatter, people talking. So if they're encouraged, then they're human beings and are expressive, is what I found.
Yeah. They're
Okay.
just yeah. Also, this educational system problem is there because
Oh yeah.
yeah, because when they only have been asked question when there's only one right answer is there, so they don't have a chance to speak out their ideas.
Right. I
That's how I've been trained.
Yeah, when it was amazing to me that when I visited an English class in high school, that they weren't speaking English. They were writing, but no one was speaking. And I thought, and so then Japanese people that I met were shy to speak in English because they didn't have the practice. So it was the educational system kept people quiet.
Yeah, and also like not even in English, but also in Japanese,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not expected to speak out what they think.
So, do you think that your experience living in London changed you, or otherwise you might be shy?
Still shy.
No, you're
Well,
not.
I did change quite a lot, but I'm still shy though.
Do you do public speaking about climate?
I would like to, but I feel very scared doing that yet. But I feel like, and I'm really bad at speaking in public. I did get a chance. I do have some chance to be invited at event and facilitate people talk, and I can kind of do that, like saying my own ideas, what I think, what people should hear, is like very difficult. I would like to practice. I'm thinking of creating an event for those people who would like to speak out, maybe training event so that we all can study. Maybe all of us can practice together then.
That's a good idea. What I've found is that that people get shy if they think, how am I doing? If they're analyzing, oh, did I say that correctly? Oh, how me. But if the public speaker is thinking, what's my next thought? How do I say this rationally? Looks at the reaction of the audience. If you keep the focus away from you, then it frees things up. That's my experience.
Cool.
Kakui. The earlier social movements were really influenced by books, like the feminist, or like Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, but this generation of activists, I don't hear much talk about books. I wonder, because they get their information from social media. I'm wondering if there are books that have been influential in shaping your philosophy, your political philosophy. What books have influenced you, or is it mostly social media?
It is mostly social media, but more. I feel like more over talking to people, those activists or pro. I'm quite good at making friends, so I just become friend with people who have a knowledge and just like hear directly from them. Because I'm not so good at reading books, so I become friend with people who have been reading a lot of books.
That's very efficient. In your household, what do you do to personally to help the environment? I mean, like recycle, buy. Well, Japan, you don't really have used clothing. I don't think. What do you personally do?
Well, I don't buy new clothes. I buy vintage clothes, from secondhand shop, and I try my best to reduce waste by not using plastic items. But like Japan, like there's so many plastics, it's so difficult not to get any plastic. But
Right.
trying to buy in the big packages of beans, and I'm vegan. Like maybe I should say plant-based because I'm not like perfectly avoiding any animal stuff, but like I'm vegan. And I don't fly anymore. I don't take flights anymore. Of course, then I changed the energy company, electric company, to renewable one. And also I started activist house where I live with like 5 other activists. And that's energy efficient if you share a same house.
And that's in Tokyo?
Yeah.
And do you share cooking? Like I'll cook on Monday and you cook on Tuesday? I mean, do you do that kind of shared work?
Yes, but we don't have a Monday you cook or something like that. It's more natural, like those people who became hungry start cooking and ask other, knocking door or like type on the chat who would like to eat lunch. And we create amount of the food for everyone. And those people who cooked, they don't have to wash dishes or clean the table. So that way we kind of share the household thing. And
you don't have meat eaters among the 5?
Not at this house, but like when they go out, some of them eat meat. Mm-hmm. But we don't have any meat or fish here in this house.
An issue that happens a lot in households is somebody is neater and tidier than someone else, and someone else forgets to wash their dishes or leaves their stuff around. How do you have that as an issue, the cleaning up issue?
A little bit, yes. We're gonna have a meeting this week because one of the members is leaving, and she have been very good at paying attention to these stuff. But she's leaving to Denmark, so once she's gone, then we have to figure out who's doing what, because some of them notice more than other, and we have been saying like it's okay that some people don't. It's hard for them to pay attention. So, but it seems like it's not going to work that way from next month. So we're going to discuss.
Do you have regular house meetings to talk about, we're out of toilet paper and somebody should be responsible for doing the shopping for the house? Or do you have regular meetings, or just kind of as things come up you talk about them?
We don't have a regular meeting. We just communicate a lot. We're like family now, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to get back to organizing, the current movements, including the movements of the squares in 2011, or the occupied squares, there's a big emphasis on being horizontal. Not being hierarchical, being horizontal. We don't want military hierarchy. You're the boss and I'm the follower. My question to you is that a goal for Fridays for Future? And if so, how do you get things done if it's such a flat organizing structure?
Mm-hmm. That's something Fridays for Future, that part of group, struggling. Um, I feel like that's kind of stopping us from moving forward fast, because we have been really trying to listen to each other a lot. We're trying to look for where we can agree. So consensus. And because no one have a right to say we're gonna do this. So but like our Japanese culture is like we work hard. So
yes.
When the facilitator asks like who would like to take this position, do this job, and then if someone raise their hand, they will do it. So it hasn't been a difficult thing to make things like move forward.
So it's organized.
Question?
It's organized in task groups. So I'm in the group on publicity, and you're in the group on international coordination or whatever it is. And then so the task groups are assigned their work, and then you have weekly discussions or whatever where people say, okay, we did this and we need to do that. Is that kind of how it is structured?
Yeah.
And then is there a person who facilitates it all that rotates, or how is it coordinated? Okay, we're gonna have a big strike to plan for September 25th, 2020. So who says, let's get organized now for that strike, and we need to do this, this, and this? In other words, how does leadership occur?
So we do irregularly whole Japanese region meeting, and there each team talk about what they have been doing recently, and sometimes they will ask who would like to organize this project, and then like couple people say they will do it, and those people would prepare. We will have a meeting, like maybe they facilitate in rotation. Yeah.
And those meetings are done online in like Slack or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use Slack and use the Zoom to do the meeting.
And who is it rotated? Who facilitates? Because you really need someone to say, okay, you can speak and you can speak, and are there questions about? Does that rotate, or does it tend to be the same people who facilitate?
Yes, it's the same people usually facilitate for this meeting, like regional meeting thing, because they're the team thinking about structuralizing Fridays for Future Japan. And we decided that this team will organize this meeting. So, yeah.
Got it. And what kind of connection do you have with international FFF?
Just trying to organize and communicate inside Japan is like a lot of work, and it has been hard to keep the eye open for Friday for Future International, because the Telegram chat, there's so many different groups, and like everyone talk a lot, and like it's all in English. It's kind of very difficult to catch up. So I sometimes check them, and some of them sometimes check the Telegram, but definitely there's a person who have been keep an eye open for the date for the global strike. So yeah, those parts we try not to miss, but we don't really follow everything.
Right.
And also, like when we try to structuralize Fridays for Future Japan, we did reach to different country Fridays for Future organizer to how they structure their community, so we get an idea of how we would like to do it. And there's another like mental care team is starting, so we kind of reach out to psychologist for future group, how they support the mental care for the activists. And yeah, that's how we use the international connection.
I just came out with a book called Calm, How to Thrive in Challenging Times, which I'll send to you. I'll email, because it has techniques for staying centered and grounded that might be helpful, although it's in English.
Cool. Thank you.
Let's see. What about backlash? A lot of, I would say, maybe especially girls get trolls and criticism, and you're just a pawn used by adults and blah 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 blah. Do you experience in your group backlash, or is it not an issue in Japan?
Not yet. We're not that powerful yet. But some of the members use Twitter, and I think the boys have been posting quite direct ideas of what they think. And on the Twitter in Japan, like there's so many trolls, and they do get attacked from that. But I don't hear that kind of thing from girls. Because maybe they only say the post what's real, like sharing the knowledge, more of an educational post.
Right. This is the facts.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the names of the task groups? There's like a social support one. There's keeping track with international. What are the different task groups?
Now, the global strike group is there, and also senryaku. I'm gonna search this word. Strategy.
Tactics. Tactics.
Tactics for approaching government to change the energy policy group is there. And also next year in April there will be Climate Live. Do you know Climate Live event?
Oh, the music
fest.
Yeah, one of the girls in Australia is helping organize it.
So like we also preparing for that to happen in Japan. And like yesterday, Asumi said, there's a group who will start thinking about how to prepare for the heavy weather kind of group.
Right, the floods. Extreme weather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else? And SNS team is quite active too.
What is that?
SNS, like posting on Instagram, online team. And there's a group organizing a study, like studying group is there.
Like research?
The research team, yes.
And of the people who are most active in those task groups, about half male, half female, what's the rough percentage?
I feel like it's half and half. Yeah.
And of those activists, roughly what percentage in high school, what percentage college age, what ages do they tend to be?
I actually don't know who's what age, but I feel like half and half too, like high school students and university students.
So you all don't get together face to face very often, it sounds like.
No. I'm quite friend with like those organizers. I just don't ask them. I don't really pay much attention there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe more, a little bit, slightly more of a college student, I think.
mm,
And I noticed that, like, talking about public speaking, I think that part, boys are taking charge more than girls, I think.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like all of us realized that. So when whoever noticed that, we try to balance that also girls needs to be like in the front.
Right.
But that's good.
Right.
But still boys are more good at speaking out. So
what about gender fluidity? In other countries, there's people want to say their pronouns. So I'm she, or they, their, whatever it is. Are people thinking in terms of gender fluidity, or is it not so big a thing?
it's not a big thing here.
Because I'll get emails from people like academics, and they'll list their pronouns under their name and address.
Yeah, I do see that a lot recently. I know that it's a thing outside of Japan.
Yeah. Okay. Another thing I wonder if it's outside of Japan is mental health professionals are concerned because increasing numbers of adolescents are anxious and depressed, especially girls. And I wondered if that's an issue in Japan or if it's not an issue.
You mean like it's specifically activists or like in general?
In general, for adolescents.
Like since this pandemic started, like on Instagram, because I use a lot of Instagram, talking about mental health becoming a big thing, starting to become a big thing. Finally, like those like fashion in the fashion world girls are also boys starting to talk about taking care about your mental health is very important. And it's a great thing. But still, when you see, I didn't search recently, but as I could remember, still like boys having a more difficulty than girls with a mental health thing, because Japanese men commit suicides a lot, and it's still a lot. It's a big issue.
I've forgotten what the name of it is, but there's a phenomenon, especially for boys, that they can't go outside. They stay home in their bedrooms and do video games, but it's like agoraphobia. They don't go outside. What is that called? I've forgotten what the name of it is.
Hikikomori? Maybe.
And it's more boys like that than girls, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what causes that.
So in Japan, like it's really a big oppression, like pressure for boys or men to like work hard and to succeed in the society. And it's a really big pressure. So those like kind of sensitive who can feel that a lot since they were young, they feel like they're the loser. They feel like they cannot do it. And at the same time, this like game technology is so developed in Japan, and they can create a wonderful world on screen. So like it's really easy way for them to escape in that world and not to see the oppression, not to feel it. So I think it's systemically that lead a lot of men to stay at home, watching screen, doing the game, and try not to look at how well they're not doing in the society.
Right.
Yeah. And that started from like more than 10 years ago. And now it's becoming quite a big problem. Well, since from many years ago, it had been a problem. But those people who used to be boys, now they're in their 40s. And yeah. And they're still at home doing the same thing. So, and the boys' parents becoming elder and still taking care of their child.
Has it changed with young people, with young couples, the old salary man worked all day, drank with his friends till midnight, came home a little drunk. The wife was managing the homework, the kids doing academic success. They really lived in different worlds. Is there a rebellion against that pattern among young people that you know of, like in their 20s?
Around me, yes. But like I don't live in like my life is totally different from the majority, so I cannot tell exactly like whether it really changed or not. But I see the change though, and because I'm connected to the fashion world, a lot of women marry late, like in their middle 30 or like before 40 or something like that, and they have the kid very late, and they both, because also the women have a career for a long time, they work together, they raise their kids together. So I see the difference there, but they're not, because they're creator, they're freelance kind of people, so
they have control over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I hope that I live in rural area with activist friends and still trying to change the social issue, but having my legs on the ground, like live with the nature, with people.
And like have a farm?
Mm-hmm.
To me, the most beautiful architecture, I have a book I just love of Japanese old farmhouses with the tatami mats and the sliding screens, and so simple and beautiful lines. Maybe one vase with flowers, one scroll, it changes, but I love that aesthetic.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And then last question, are you optimistic or pessimistic? Or do you think things are going to get better, or will we be able to turn it around in a decade? The climate crisis?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll do my best, and I'm sure this Earth's gonna look more terrible than now. But at the same time, I'll see more of a beautiful people realizing each other's is having each other is most important thing, caring. I think lots of love, and also the earth will be collapsed more.
Yeah, we're destroying it pretty fast. Is there anything else that we've left out that you would like to include about climate activism or Generation Z, or do you see any differences with the high school students than when you were in high school?
Yeah, a big change.
What's that?
Definitely, Gen Z is more, their interest is more on social issue, more and more young people, and they have been speaking out about it. Not exactly they're speaking out yet in the like social media, everyone, but I see a lot of Gen Z people starting up the new account talking about BLM or gender issue or mental care issue or how to live ethically, like all these things. So I think the education, the information have changed for Gen Z generation.
Mm-hmm. You know, it was interesting to me when I was in Japan that there's a prejudice, even if you have like a Korean parent and your last name is Korean, they were considered kind of gaijin. And so, I mean, you couldn't really look at someone and say, oh, they have a Korean one parent. But there was a lot of prejudice for someone who wasn't just Japanese.
We still have that. And like on Twitter, it's kind of, in a way, it's escalating that hate against Korean identity. But like these people are only like 2 or 3% of the population. But still their voice is so loud, people feel like they should hate Korean or something like that. And I have Japanese Korean friends, so we have been discussing what we could do, but my friends is still scared of speaking out, their identity too, because like definitely these people they feel like these people will come towards them. So that part of the movement haven't really started yet, but hopefully I would like to make a change there with these friends.
Whenever I would do something that was a little unusual, I would hear gaijin, and it wasn't like excuse her. It was like, she doesn't know, she's stupid. I mean, it was judgmental gaijin.
So not only Korean, but like you mean like all gaijin-san, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, still it's there. Because like, I don't know, Japanese people, like, I don't know how many percentages, but those people who loves international gaijin culture is also there. And those people who are scared of gaijin culture are there. So, and because I'm like mixed, racially mixed, my friends have the more of a international perspective. So, I'm sure those people who are scared of gaijin kind of they take a step away from me, so I don't really see them much. I like that when you see on the TV or those like celebrity in Japan, more of a mixed heritage people are on the TV, But like Korean people, they don't speak out their racial part because it's hard to see. They can hide that part, so that part isn't moving.
Right.
But people are getting used to seeing mixed heritage people or gaijin, so things are changing than the time
May
I
ask,
think.
was your mother British? Is she British?
No, she's Japanese and my dad is Scottish, but they divorced when I was very small.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So
good mixture.
Japanese mom raised me in Japan.
Got it. Anything else that we've left out that should be included?
Please support young Japanese activists. That's the thing I would like to say. They need more, of course, everywhere in the world, but they need more resources. They need more support internationally, I think, to know that what they're doing is big thing because they feel they're very small and no one really listening to them. So.
arigato.